first to our top story today. India's capital is all set to host the crucial meeting of G20 foreign ministers. The two-day summit begins later on today, and ministers have started arriving in New Delhi. Well, as a reminder, the meeting is taking place under the shadow of war and spiralling U.S. China tensions as well. All eyes are on India and what role it can play as G20 head in getting the joint communique passed. Well, India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra held a press conference before the G20 foreign ministers meet while answering WION's question on India's plan to bridge the gap between the West and Russia and whether a joint statement will be issued at the end of the summit. Kwatra said that they cannot prejudge the outcome.
The issues that we face on the reform of multilateralism, each one of them is a very, very significant and a substantial issue which is absolutely crucial for the global South. I have no reason to doubt that each of these agenda items will receive its due focus when the foreign ministers meet tomorrow and hold their discussions. It is not for me to prejudge the outcome of those discussions.
Well, as a recap, the G20 foreign ministers meet is being held days after a meet of the finance ministers of the bloc in Bengaluru, where the leaders failed to reach consensus and the meet ended without a joint communique after China and Russia declined to sign a joint statement condemning Moscow for its war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has reached New Delhi for the G20 foreign ministers meet. He will also be attending the Reza Dialogue as well, the 2023. The Russian Foreign Ministry released a statement which said, and I'm quoting here, "We support India's G20 presidency in its commitment to promote a unifying agenda that will restore confidence in multilateral diplomacy and prevent the fragmentation of the global economy." U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be reaching New Delhi later on today as well. According to U.S. top officials, Blinken will underscore the damage that Russia's war of aggression has caused and further urge nations to redouble calls for Russia to end the war. Well, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong has also arrived in New Delhi. This is her first visit to India as Foreign Minister. Indian External Affairs Minister J. Jaishankar has also announced the arrival of Turkey's Foreign Minister to India, and both the ministers, they discussed bilateral relations on the sidelines of the G20 meeting. Well, taking to Twitter, the Turkish Foreign Minister said that he met with India's External Affairs Minister and thanked him for Operation Dost, which is the search and rescue operation initiated by the Indian government to help the earthquake-hit Turkey and Syria. Jaishankar also held bilateral talks with his Brazilian counterpart as well and discussed issues that will be tabled at the G20 foreign ministers meeting. Well, in the latest, Jaishankar has also held talks with Britain's Foreign Minister James Cleverly. The Indian Foreign Minister said that the two leaders held discussions on the global situation as well as the G20 agenda. Meanwhile, according to reports, Japan's foreign minister will not be attending the upcoming G20 meet due to domestic parliamentary sessions going on there. Well, for more, we do have a report from our correspondent, Siddhant Sibal from New Delhi.
India is the diplomatic capital of the world with the participation of 40 delegations for the G20 foreign ministers meeting. Now, India will be focusing on issues like reform multilateralism, that is the United Nations, then the issue of counter-terrorism, also focus on issues like food security. But essentially, India will be focusing on how to bridge the divide between Russia and the West amidst the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, and of course being the voice of the Global South. Remember, India hosted the Voice for the Global South Summit in the month of January, and that will feed into discussions that will happen here in Delhi on Thursday. But essentially it is the Russia-Ukraine conflict that is dominating the agenda. We know that at the finance ministers meeting in Bangalore, there was the chair statement and the outcome document because China and Russia could not agree to two paras of the Bali Declaration to be part of the joint communique. So it will be a long haul before some kind of outcome we can see from the G20 foreign ministers meeting here in Delhi. With video journalist Chandrasekhar Siddhant for WION in New Delhi.
Well, for more on this, we are now being joined by Andreas Umland, an analyst at the Stockholm Centre for Eastern European Studies at the Swedish Institute of International Affairs, joining us live from Berlin.
Thanks for having me.
Well, given the divisions in the G20 over support for Ukraine, can a unanimous resolution on the Ukraine war be passed, do you think, at the G20 foreign ministers' meet?
That's difficult to say because Russia has influence, especially in the global south, although the paradox situation here is that the situation in which Ukraine is in is more similar to many countries in the global south. The global north is a well-structured realm with lots of security guarantees, nuclear superpowers basically protecting themselves and others. And Ukraine is just an exception in the global north. In the global south, I think the current situation of Ukraine, which does not have nuclear weapons, which is not protected by a large alliance or a nuclear superpower, is very similar to many countries in the global south. Also, Ukraine is a post-colonial country. It was a former colony of the Tsarist and the Soviet empires. And in spite of that situation of Ukraine, it does not receive the kind of support that one would expect. On the contrary, Russia has a lot of influence, and that's why I am skeptical whether the G20 will really come with a good statement out of this.
Okay. Do you think that the G7 nations and the situation in Ukraine has almost taken over the forum because it's supposed to be about economics, isn't it, and other issues?
I think that's easily explainable because what Russia is doing is attacking the very foundations of the international system. So it's not just about war and about creating zones of influence, but it's actually about the extension of the official Russian state territory via annexation, ordinary annexation, something that has been done in the 19th century and early 20th century and has become, let's put it that way, unusual after World War II. And the other aspect that is here, I think, accelerating or escalating the importance of what Russia is doing is that Russia is an official nuclear weapons state. It is officially allowed to have nuclear weapons, and Russia is a permanent member of the UN Security Council with a veto right. And that's why the salience of what Russia is doing in Ukraine is so high. And that's why I think then all other issues become secondary, because it goes to the very core of the international order.
Yeah, taking centre stage. And I think that's warranted, as you say. Thank you very much indeed. Really fascinating getting your view today. That's Andreas Umland, analyst at the Stockholm Centre for Eastern European Studies at the Swedish Institute of International Affairs, joining us live from Berlin today. Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.